Before we start, I would like you to take a few moments and listen to yourself closely, please. Thank you. What did you hear? Breathing, all right, you're breathing. What else did you hear? Digestion. All right, you got good hearing senses there. Pardon? Chatter and thoughts. What I think you heard was possibly the most important voice within your life. What I think you heard was possibly the most important person within your life. Yourself. And what I want to show you today is how the process of active self-listening can be connected to the concept of becoming a life-work architect. And what happened to me when I stopped listening to myself, and what changed within the last 2 years since I started again. And as most of you will possibly wonder what a life-work architect is, I might just tell you right from the start, a life-work architect is someone who understands that his life is under general construction and that it is on him for his life's work to be completed. And that it is on him to set up a plan, to reflect on his own personal strengths, to think about how should my house, my future self, my life's work look like in the future to come. Who's not looking on the left or on the right-hand side, watching the neighbors build their houses, their life's work, but who is individual, who knows about his uniqueness, and starts building his house bottom to top. And what I want to invite you to today is to come with me and join me looking at my construction site and how it possibly might have looked like about 2 years ago. As you can see in the back of the picture, it's quite dark. And if you are looking in front of the picture, you're seeing stairs climbing up into the light. That might just how I felt like about 2 years ago. It was a moment that had changed for me personally nearly everything. It was the 18th of December 2015, the 21st birthday of my sister, who had already gone out with her friends partying, so it was only my parents and me sitting on the couch. And my father was sitting on the left-hand side, and my mother was sitting on the right-hand side, and I was sitting kind of like across towards them. And I was sitting them down to be truly honest with them. Because what my inner voice had been shouting at me for 12 months was that there was something completely wrong with me. That I had somehow along the way lost the connection to me personally, and that my house, although it might have looked beautifully on the outside, started to cripple on the inside. Because to be honest, it looked all pretty well when I was 23. It was 3 years of running through all the gates of success and back, so to speak. I had enrolled in university in Heidelberg after I had been to Australia for a year, and then while I was studying on university, I started working as a financial consultant, and I was doing great. I was responsible for a team of employees. I worked together with good friends of mine. I had a living which I couldn't have ever dreamed about, being 20, 23, and I was working 7 days a week, so I felt like already life had rolled it all out for me. But inside, I felt this house lost all its furniture. I felt that emptiness and loneliness had already taken over the place. And I didn't really know how to get along any further. So what did I do? I sat my parents down and I was telling them, I need your help. And something started back then when my father asked me a simple question, and what I want to tell you today is what this question was, and might some of you will have similar experiences today or for the future to come, and possibly this question might help you as well. Because what I feel and what I experienced within the last 2 years since I started listening again is that we are all facing exactly the same challenge. We are facing the challenge that all around us there is change. We heard about change today. We heard about climate change. We heard about change concerning fish. We heard about any kind of change. And what I see is that we are also having change in a working area. If we look at the speed of innovation all around us, it will never be as slow as it is today. Quite the opposite. The speed will from now on only increase in its speed. The innovation, I'm sorry. As a question for you, what do you think? Just answer it inside your head. How long did it take for electricity to be used by more than 25% of worldwide population back in the 19th century? What do you think? Think about a number. How many years did it take for electricity to be used by more than 25% of the worldwide population back in the 19th century? It took us, back then, 46 years until we can say that the innovation got through. If we look back to the earlier days, or at least to the last couple of years, what we find is that for us, it only took a year to use three-dimensional television back in 2014, 2015, so that 1.5 billion people used one of those gadgets. Besides that, if we only look at the technology and in the industry and the four major companies within the technology industry, we see Google, Amazon, Facebook, and Apple. And thinking back 10, 15 years ago, what has changed is enormous. Amazon was an online bookstore 10 years ago. And we were thinking about and wondering if it's all right to purchase an item, a book, online. Today, Amazon, for some of us, is a market store that we are only going to. Apple, another example. How smartphones have changed the way we are communicating is nearly, or was nearly impossible to imagine about 15 years ago. And some of you might have, as well, similar to me, taken the quote, "Apple a day keeps the doctor away," too literally, and wear it always closest to their hearts. Facebook. What did Facebook do? Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram. What happened is that our way of communicating changed from the core. Today, we are expressing emotions via smileys and emoticons. And we are thankful to WhatsApp that they have this new upgrade, which allows us even more smileys. What else are we doing? We are just voicing, or we are just speaking into our mobiles, having this message sent that we can try and repeat 12 times until we are relatively happy with our sound of our voice and how the voice sounds and the message that we are sending. We are afraid to call someone because we don't really know if we will be able to have the right answer at the right moment when we are asked. What I feel is that the innovation around us increases in its speed. And what I feel is that we are searching for safety, that we are searching for securities, that we are searching for some way of knowing that it will be all right in the future to come. But if we look at the buzzwords, and I don't want to contemplate on them, but the buzzwords as automatization, digitalization, artificial intelligence, machine learning, I don't want to set this room on fire and spread fear, but we should feel a distinct version of respect at least. And if I look back on my personal history, 10 years ago I heard that it is teachers that are searched for all over Germany. 5 years ago it was engineers, and right now everybody is speaking about IT. So what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to learn, and what is going to secure my future? I don't know. I think nobody really knows out there, and someone who believes that he is well prepared for the future to come, I don't know if there's any hope. I think the only preparation that we can truly take is to accept that there is no preparation at all. We are searching for external accomplishments, external degrees, external achievements, someone to clap us on the back and say, "You are the way you are, just perfectly prepared for the future to come." Your acknowledgement, your degree will save you for the future. I'm sorry, but I don't believe that. I think that the competence to learn knowledge by heart and to reproduce it in the future won't solve the issues that are about to come. I believe that companies in the future are going to search for someone who comes up with answers, or who comes up with questions that have not been asked yet. Because Googling something, which we are doing constantly, and receiving knowledge might not solve the issues. So what I believe is that we should start looking somewhere else for safety. And that was the moment when I sat down with my parents, looked them in the eyes and told them that I was feeling empty, that I was feeling lonely. Although everything worked out beautifully on the outside, what had started was me feeling like being a composition of what others were thinking is right, of what I am supposed to be, of which strengths I am about to have. And this composition had nothing to do with me personally. So we are needing edges, I believe. I believe we should, and we learned this throughout the day within the topics of education, for example, we should start educating ourselves differently. We should focus more on edges, but on the perfect vita, with the perfect amount of internships, with the perfect amount of months that we have studied abroad. We should rather start, besides all those aspects, to look inside and ask ourselves, what are my strengths? What are the things that I am passionate about? And in which field I want to become an expert that no machine learning is ever going to replace. Back then, my father asked me a question. He said, if you would ask yourself right now how you are feeling and what has to change for you so that you are feeling all right again. There was a process initiated, a process of jumping from an external way of living to looking inside and making my own decisions. Because we are living in times where everybody has opinions on everything, but never really put in the effort to truly understand. We are living in a time where everybody knows what's best for us, but is desperate oneself. We are living in times, and we have to think about that, where we spend 4.5 hours on average a day being online. And if we only add on the hours we are watching television and series, we are about 9 hours awake consuming distraction. What, from my point of view, we are losing is touch. The touch to ourselves. Because the moment there is this inner voice starting to shout that there is something wrong, we start switching the television on. We start writing into our group chat only to receive 10 answers immediately. We start uploading the new selfie from this perfect spot that I had been searching for the last 10 days, which tells everybody else in my friend list that I'm living the perfect, awesome life. What I think we need to do is we need to start looking inside. And some of you might have heard that we have to develop a certain sense of self-awareness, and some of you might have already started to think about what is my uniqueness, what is my edge, how can I start working on my construction site, thinking about what is true and important to me, not what others are telling me what the next popular trend will be, but what I am truly passionate about. And it's hard, and I'm failing at it daily, to build this connection, to establish that connection, to start to learn to know the person that is most important in my life. Because I'm so taken by everything else around me that I don't really have the time for that. Which is a shame, and which I believe we should change. And where I believe the process of active listening starts. Because to truly listen on the outside, we should start listening on the inside, at least as well. And for that reason, I have one invitation for you. For the future to come, Ask yourself the questions you would normally ask others and start listening to your answers. It's easy, but I believe that every great truth is easy. And it can be as easy as asking, how are you feeling? And looking yourself in the mirror and answering it. Because that way, I believe that we can not only build our construction sites, then we can dare the leap from the external-based lifestyle to an internal fulfillment which leads up into the sky. There was this moment 2 years ago. And I sat down with my parents and I was desperate. And my father asked me, if you would ask yourself today how you are feeling and what you have to change for the future so that you are feeling better, I started a dialogue. I started a conversation which changed nearly everything. And what I want you to do, what I want you to invite is start asking yourselves questions and start listening actively. Thank you.